How's it going, everybody? My name is LuckyBunz. In today's video, I'm going to be covering the best ways to maximize your shiny odds when shiny hunting in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This video has been updated to also include the DLC content, but most of this stuff can be done in the base game. First up, let's cover everything that can actually give you the shiny boost. So by far, one item that is strongly recommended is going to be the shiny charm for completing the entire Paldea Pokedex. That's going to be the base game Pokedex. Now, I'm quite aware that most of you probably aren't going to get this before you start shiny hunting, and that's perfectly fine because there are going to be other methods you guys can use to increase your shiny odds. The next method I wanted to talk about is going to be mass outbreaks, which is personally my favorite. When you get to 60 KOs on a mass outbreak, you're going to get 2 extra shiny rolls, which makes this the best way to shiny hunt Pokemon in the early game before you get the shiny charm. We're going to cover this more in detail later, so don't worry. The next thing we're going to talk about is going to be the shiny sandwich or sparkling power level 3 for one type of Pokemon. And when I say one type, I mean like one typing, so like fire type, water type, or grass type, stuff like that. Now you can do this with or without the shiny charm, but obviously, if you want to get the best possible odds with the shiny charm, it's going to make sense. You don't want to be using these shiny sandwiches for just any Pokemon, like use it for your really good hunts. So if you're going for like those Pokemon down in Area 0, I think the shiny sandwich is perfect for stuff like that. Now once you make it through the introduction to the Indigo disc, which is going to be the DLC content, and you get access to the Blueberry Academy, you're going to enter the cafeteria and purchase a meal called the Academy Special. What this item does is that it's going to give you Sparkling Power level 1 on all types of Pokemon for 150 Blueberry points. This is a pretty inexpensive cost later on, so if you want to roam around and explore, especially in the beginning of the DLC, it's strongly recommended to always have this active because it's going to increase your shiny chances significantly. Now finally, the last method we're going to talk about is going to be the Masuda method, which is exclusive for hatching Pokemon from eggs. All you need for this method is going to be a foreign ditto for breeding, but we're going to cover this more in detail later on in the video, so don't worry about it. Next up, let's go over how to actually farm Herba Mystica though, because if you want to create those shiny sandwiches, you're going to need to have this ingredient, and it's not exactly easy to get. So the main way to actually farm Herba Mystica is going to be from 5 and 6 star raids. There are going to be a few other side quests you guys can do in the game along with the DLC to get some more Herba Mystica, but those are kind of its own thing. If you guys want to actually know what those methods are, I'm going to leave a link to a video on screen right now. You can check that out for both the Indigo disc as well as for the Teal mask. Now specifically from 5 star and 6 star raids, there are going to be certain Pokemon that actually drop Herba Mystica a bit more frequently. So let's go over which Pokemon those are going to be right now. So in the base game for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you want to look out for these following Pokemon: Amoonguss, Blissey, Cetitan, Dodonzo, Vaporeon, Farigiraf, Drifblim, Electros, Palafin, Gengar, and Glalie. Now for the Teal mask, you want to look for these Pokemon: Basculegion, Snorlax, Poliwrath, Dusknoir, and Mandibuzz. And then finally for the Indigo disc, you want to look for Kingdra, Lapras, Malamar, Alolan Muk, Porygon 2, and Galarian Slowbro. If you ever see these raids on your map, you should definitely be doing them. And if you don't have any of these Pokemon on your map, you can always use the date skip trick to reset them as well. So at this point, you know how to get Herba Mystica, right? Focus on the raid battles. But to make a shiny sandwich, you also need to have other ingredients as well. Where can you actually get all that stuff? So you can pretty much find everything at Levincia. You want to look for the bakery, the deli, the supermarket, and Shurikans. Everything you could possibly need is going to be in those 4 stores. Now with that being said, there is a shiny sandwich calculator linked down below that you guys can use if you want to get more creative with your sandwiches and your boosts. I would strongly recommend using this when you're hunting Pokemon for mass outbreaks because you don't really need to focus on encounter power. You already get that from the mass outbreak, so you can change this to focus on something like Humungo, which is going to be for double XL versions of these Pokemon. Now while I do strongly recommend using that calculator for more efficient recipes, if you have a lot of Herba Mystica and you just want something really quick that doesn't take that long, these following recipes will work out pretty well for you. You can pause the video right now and take a screenshot if you'd like, or you can go to the original source, which is going to be linked down below. So anyways, let's go over the typings right now. Once again, you only need to have 1 ingredient plus those following Herba Mystica. So for bug, it's going to be potato salad, electric yellow pepper, fire basil, grass lettuce, normal fried filet, rock bacon, dark smoked filet, fairy tomato, flying prosciutto, ground ham, poison noodles, steel hamburger, dragon avocado, fighting pickle, ghost red onion, ice cloth stick, psychic onion, and then water cucumber. The way I kind of said some of those sounded like it was its own thing, like a fighting pickle or a dragon avocado. Anyways, those are like the most efficient, fast-paced recipes if you just want to shiny hunt immediately, not have to worry about it too much. just go with one of these. But if you actually want to take your time and use the proper ingredients, minimal resources, then go with the shiny calculator, which again is going to be linked down below. Next up, let's take a look at isolated shiny hunting. So when you're using the isolated shiny hunting method, you're essentially focused on a specific location that'll spawn only that Pokemon. There are some amazing people in the community who have mapped out a lot of these spots, so I'm going to leave a link to one of their spreadsheets in the description down below. Austin John Plays also put together a great video going over some easy shiny hunts you guys can focus on using this method. I personally did this to get my shiny Tinkatuff. Now, while I was also doing research for this video, I also came across another shiny hunting method, which is called the 16 spawn method. The game can only spawn 15 Pokemon at a time within your visual view, but if you happen to count 16 Pokemon, that means that one of them is going to be a guaranteed shiny Pokemon. That's just because when the game spawns in a shiny, it counts as an extra spawn. Now, keep in mind, not every location is going to have this many Pokemon, but in the case of my shiny Tinkatuff, this was actually applicable. You can pretty much do this in any area that's going to have at least 15 spawns, and then you can just use the picnic method to reset. Following that, let's talk about certain Pokemon in the game that spawn in packs, families, or group spawns. I wasn't exactly sure what people called these, but that was the best way I could describe them. They usually consist of 4 base stage Pokemon and then its evolution, for example 4 Pawniard and 1 Bisharp. If you are targeting a specific Pokemon family, this could be a really fun way to actually hunt their shiny forms. I've actually gotten a few random shinies from these group spawns just roaming around in the overworld, and I didn't have any shiny boost active either. I think I got 1 Hoppip and then I got something else. I'll have to put it on screen right now, but it has definitely happened to me. So this can definitely be another fun way to actually shiny hunt. I think the other methods in game are more efficient, but if you're looking for something different to really mix things up, I definitely recommend this method. Now, I mentioned earlier that we would talk about mass outbreaks again, so let's go over that right now. In my opinion, this is probably the best way to shiny hunt in the game. I'm not entirely sure if you get mass outbreaks immediately once you start the game or if it takes a little bit of time in terms of progress, but I know it was really early on. Either way, various mass outbreaks are going to appear on your map, and they're going to have a red glowing icon. Now, just like we talked about earlier with raids, if you want to reset the available outbreaks, you can do this by doing the date skip trick. And if you also have the DLC unlocked, you're going to get 2 additional maps, one for the Teal mask and then one for the Indigo disc. You're going to have mass outbreaks in each of those regions as well. Now, from these mass outbreaks, you can expect to see an increased amount of the same Pokemon appearing in those areas, and as you defeat them, the number is going to decrease and your shiny odds are going to get higher. You will get an additional shiny roll after 30 KOs and then another one after 60 KOs, but once you pass 60 KOs, you're not going to get any more, so that's a good time to actually stop. Now, once you make it past 60 KOs, I would save your game at this point, and you can just reset anytime you want to, because from here on out, if you don't get the shiny on that first sandwich, you don't have to keep using sandwiches. You can just reset the game and then try again. Now, one more thing I do want to mention in regards to the shiny sandwich is the recipes that we kind of focused on earlier, right? That was for sparkling, title, and encounter powers. Now, since the mass outbreaks already give you an encounter boost, you can tweak the recipe to focus on something else for that third boost instead of encounter power, and I would strongly recommend that. So we know that we have to get 60 KOs, but what's going to be the fastest way to actually get this done? Well, in most scenarios, in the Kitakami area and then also in the Paldea area, you want to go with auto battling. But if you're actually in the Blueberry Academy for the Indigo disc, you can use what is known as synchro mode. What this basically does is that you enter into the body of your Pokemon, and you can run around as them, you can battle Pokemon, it's super fun. And this method is faster because of that, right? You don't have to keep clicking the button to have your Pokemon go attack another Pokemon. You're the one who's in control and you're attacking all the Pokemon you want to. But this method is riskier because if you do happen to encounter a shiny, unlike auto battling, it's not going to prevent you from knocking that shiny out. So you can actually lose shinies, and if you happen to move too far away from your trainer, where you're synchro moding from, it's going to reset the spawns once you go back to your trainer to try and get that shiny. I've done this before, it was very painful. I lost a Galarian shiny Slowpoke. At the end of the day, it is okay. I just use that clip as a warning for all of you guys to not make this mistake. And don't go too far away from your trainer. Sometimes you can lure that shiny to your trainer and you could actually save it, but most of the time it is going to despawn. Next up, let's talk about the shiny hunting method through eggs, which we talked about earlier, and that's going to be the Masuda method. Now, to be honest, this is my least favorite way to shiny hunt, but some people do prefer this over the other methods in game. Either way, there's going to be 4 shiny Pokemon locked behind eggs, so not like a huge roster you guys have to pay attention to, and if you also play Pokemon Go, you probably already have some of these Pokemon. So the egg-exclusive shiny Pokemon are going to be the Gen 9 starters, which is pretty typical, but also Spiritomb. Now, at the time of filming this video, only Quaxly hasn't been released in a shiny form in Pokemon Go, We just recently had a Sprigatito Calm Day and a Fuecoco Calm Day, so getting those shiny Pokemon was pretty easy. And especially if you really hate egg hatching, I just think staying up to date with the most recent Pokemon Go events is a much easier way to actually acquire these guys. We're also going to have December Calm Day at the end of 2025, which means all those Pokemon featured are going to come back. So you can get that Sprigatito shiny, that Fuecoco shiny, and most likely by that point we're going to have Quaxly shiny through a Calm Day, so you can get all 3 of these egg-locked Pokemon, these egg-locked shinies, in Pokemon Go during December 2025. For those of you that have never played Pokemon Go, I promise you it is 10 times easier with those increased shiny odds. I actually cover everything Pokemon Go related on my main channel, so if you guys don't want to miss out on anything, make sure to subscribe to that channel as well and watch my monthly breakdown videos to stay up to date on everything you could possibly need to know. Anyways, so for those of you that still want to shiny hunt through eggs in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you do want to use the Masuda method. Now all this means is that you're just going to want to breed your desired Pokemon with a Foreign Ditto. Combined with the shiny charm, this is going to give you the best shiny odds in the game, which is going to be 1 out of 512, but even without the shiny charm, your odds are going to be 1 out of 683, which is still pretty good compared to most other methods. So if you are in the early game and you just want to focus on egg hatching, you can definitely use this method. Now I'm sure a big question a lot of players probably have right now is how do you actually get a Foreign Ditto? Well, it's actually really simple. You do need to have Nintendo Online, to be fair. You can also do this with a local player, but Nintendo Online is just going to make this so much easier. All you have to do is just use this trade code 4448-4448, and you're going to find plenty of players trying to get their own Foreign Ditto. Once again, this is different for everybody, right? So if you are mainly in the US, for example, you ideally want to try and go on at night when people on the other side of the world are trying to get their own Dittos, right? You're going to have a better time that way. And again, if it wasn't already clear, this is a mirror trade code, so you're going to be putting in your own Ditto from your own respective country, and all you need is a Ditto from any other country that isn't yours for this Masuda method to work. Ideally, if you can get a better IV spread on your Ditto, that's going to work to your favor. It means that all the Pokemon that you hatch from eggs are going to be better IVs. Now once you have your Foreign Ditto, just put the other desired Pokemon in your party, and make sure to clear out like a box or 2 for the eggs that you're going to be obtaining, and then grab a meal that gives you the Egg Power Level 2 boost. You don't need to make a sandwich for this, you can just go to the restaurant in Alfornada, I'm going to put it on screen right now, and it's going to be the second item on the menu. This boost is going to give you an increased rate of eggs spawning into the picnic basket, which is really important. So head outside of the town, go into picnic mode, then just go near the basket at the end of the table and check it about every 60 to 90 seconds. The basket can hold up to 10 eggs at a time, so you do want to check this pretty frequently, but not too often. That pretty much covers how you can actually get eggs really fast, but how do you hatch eggs really fast? Well, you want to put one Pokemon in your party with the ability Flame Body, and the other 5 slots should just be your eggs. If you've already played through a decent amount of the game, you can quick search your Pokemon storage for this ability specifically, but if you don't have any, you can also just go out and hunt for like a Talonflame or a Carkol. There's at least 10 other Pokemon in this game who have access to Flame Body, so don't overthink it too much. You probably have one, and if you don't, it's going to be pretty easy to get your hands on one. Anyways, from here you just need to pick a place to run around. You can do this in a city like Levincia or an area with a lot of spawns for a chance at encountering a random shiny. I would prefer the latter method because I just think that's going to be better for you. Now the best way to actually transfer these Pokemon, right? You're going to hatch a ton of these guys and you can't actually mass transfer in Scarlet and Violet. That's a huge problem, right? Because that means it's going to be a really tedious process. So here's how you actually work around this. If you're connected to Pokemon Home, what you can do is transfer your Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet to Home, and then you can mass transfer them in Home. Now, as far as the eggs go, we talked about 10 Pokemon that were shiny locked. Technically, 3 of those are family Pokemon, right? Sprigatito line, Fuecoco line, and Quaxly line, plus Spiritomb. That's 10 shiny locked Pokemon behind eggs. Are there any other shiny locked Pokemon in the game? And yes, there's actually plenty of shiny locked Pokemon in the game currently. These are all static encounters, and I believe at a certain point in Pokemon, I don't know when this happened, but this kind of became the normal thing. So let's cover those Pokemon right now. So first of all, we have the legendary Ruin Pokemon, Ting-Lu, Chin-Pao, Wo-Chen, and Chi-Yu. We have Miraidon and Koraidon, the ride Pokemon. Those are going to be the ride buddies that you get in either Pokemon Scarlet or Pokemon Violet. We have Gimmighoul plus Golden Go. These have been released during special events, so this has actually been available in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet as of this point. In the Teal Mask, we're going to have Okidogi, Monkey Dory, Pheasantipity, and Ogerpon. Also, Blood Moon Ursaluna can't be shiny. Now from the Indigo disc, we're going to have Gouging Fire, Raging Bolt, Iron Boulder, and Iron Crown, along with their counterparts that were only available from raid battles, being Walking Wake and Iron Leaves. And then finally, we're going to have Terrapagos. Now, even though all those Pokemon are going to be shiny locked, there's actually 2 shiny Pokemon you can get guaranteed from rewards in the game. They're both going to be from the DLC. The first one is going to be from the Teal mask, and that's going to be Shiny Munchlax from completing Ogre Alstein on hard mode. Now this is not easy. This took me a few times to actually get done. I would strongly recommend using the Poke Portal to actually find groups to do this with. Because this game has been out for a while now, it's going to take you a little bit of time to actually get a group together, but you can still get it done. Now for the second shiny, this one is technically going to be a small spoiler for the Indigo disc, so if you guys have not completed that, I would click off the video right now. But essentially it's going to be a shiny Blitzel from defeating the secret boss Cyrano. I do have a video that covers everything you could possibly need to know about this, so I'm going to leave that in the description down below along with everything else. With that being said, that's pretty much everything I have for you guys in this one. Hopefully you did learn something about shiny hunting in this video, and if you guys do want to check out some more content in the meantime, you can watch these two videos next.